family. Talk to my sons, I talk to everybody, man. I'm just saying, gonna deal with this fight, see what it is. I just want y'all to know, all this stuff is quagmire. Shit is all bullcrap. I just need y'all prayers. I need y'all to, I don't even know what to say.
Yeah, neighborhood that bustin'. Giving a shout out right now to SPR in the streets. Y'all already know what it is. Slauson there. Oh yeah, and don't forget to check my website out too. NipseyHustle.com, SlausonBoy.com. MySpace /Nipsey Hussle.
Neighborhood Net Hustle. Big shout out to SPR, Spotter Low. You know I'm in the black box. Had to come through, tap in, show love one time. Yeah, y'all make sure y'all subscribe. Stay tuned. All that.
Some would say he's a hero. And to some degree, I may have to agree. Christopher Dorner. I hate to see anybody lose their life. But every time you sing the national anthem, the song, as an American, you celebrate the loss of life, time and place for everything, including killing. And, no justice, no peace. I believe he was dealt with unjustly. He didn't get a fair shake. And yeah, we're in a civil society, but you can't expect everyone to handle all situations the same. And there should be notes taken that Christopher Dorner perhaps will not be the last of his type. This is kind of long videos. We're just going, basically a history lesson for those who wasn't around or wasn't aware, don't quite remember, get an idea what was going through his head and how this jumped off. Oh, my mama, rest in peace to Christopher Dorner.
He wore the badge, learned the playbook, and then flipped the whole board. One man, trained to hunt, turned that training back on the house that built him. Streets went tight, radios lit up, and the line between order and chaos got real thin. Behind the smoke sits a story of pride, payback, and a city holding its breath. Cops rolling deep, civilians caught in the crossfire, courts weighing truth against loyalty, and a final stand that still sparks arguments in barbershops and briefing rooms alike. No cap, this isn't rumor. It's a war story with uniforms on both sides and receipts in black and white. Join us as we follow the oath, the beef, and the breakdown behind the ex-cop who went to war with the LAPD. Christopher Jordan Dorner was born June 4th, 1979, and grew up in Southern California. He went to Cypress High School and finished in 1997, then Southern Utah University in 2001 with political science and psychology. He played running back there from 1999 to 2000. He said fights around racism shaped him. As a teen, he locked onto one goal, become a cop, and joined a La Palma police youth program. Neighbors called his family solid, respectful. He got married, had 2 kids, and court records show his wife filed for divorce in 2007. A quiet profile on paper, but the storm wasn't far off. In 2002, during flight training at Vance Air Force Base, Dorner and a classmate found a bag with almost $8,000 from a local church. They turned it in. When asked why, Dorner said, "The military stresses integrity. There was a couple of $1,000, and if people are willing to give that to a church, it must be pretty important to them."
Better than me. I'd have been 8 up. Or 4. Me and whoever else who had found it, we finna split that. Oh, my mama.
He added his mother taught him honesty and integrity. To him, that wasn't PR. That was his code. But a code is easy to claim on a calm day. The real test hits when the streets push back. Dorner commissioned in the Navy Reserve in 2002. He commanded a security unit at NAS Fallon, rolled with a mobile inshore undersea warfare unit from 2004 to 2006, then deployed to Bahrain from late 2006 to April 2007. He left the Navy Reserve honorably on February 1st, 2013, as a lieutenant. Along the way, he earned the Navy Rifle Marksmanship Ribbon and the Navy Pistol Shot Ribbon with expert device. Skills stacked, discipline tight, but the next uniform he wore would put him in the middle of heat no training day could fully prepare him for. While serving as a reservist, Dorner entered the LAPD Academy in 2005 and graduated in 2006. Then the Navy called him up again to Bahrain. When he came back in July 2007, LAPD paired him with training officer Teresa Evans to finish probation. According to the Los Angeles Times, Evans said his first day with her, he told her he planned to sue the department after probation because of how they handled earlier complaints. That's day one smoke with your TO, not a smooth start. And the city doesn't play nice when a rookie brings legal heat. On July 28, 2007, Dorner and Evans answered a disturbance at the Doubletree Hotel in San Pedro. The subject, Christopher Gettler, had schizophrenia with severe dementia. After the arrest, Dorner wrote that Evans used excessive force, twice kicking Gettler in the chest and once in the face while cuffed and on the ground. Gettler's father later said his son told him he had been kicked. Dorner filed the report the day after learning Evans had marked his performance as needing work. If the timeline sounds messy, it only gets messier from here. LAPD ran a 7-month investigation. A 3-person board, 2 captains and a defense attorney, probed both Evans and whether Dorner told the truth. Evans got benched to desk duty and couldn't earn outside pay. Dorner's lawyer was former LAPD Captain Randall Kwan. Witnesses clashed. 2 hotel employees said they didn't see a kick. A Port police officer also didn't see a kick, but parts of his statement didn't match photos. Gettler had facial
I wasn't even there and I saw a kick. I could feel the kick. Got here.
injuries and got treatment, but he didn't mention a kick at the station. Later, in a taped interview with Dorner's lawyer, Gettler said a female officer kicked him. On the stand, though, his answers turned incoherent and hard to follow. The board decided the kicking didn't happen and that Dorner lied. That ruling put a target on his whole career. In 2008, LAPD fired Dorner for making false statements about Evans, and in his testimony, Kwan said Dorner was being used as a scapegoat. Dorner appealed with a writ of mandamus. Judge David Yaffe wrote he was uncertain whether the training officer kicked the suspect or not, but still kept the department's decision. He said he would presume LAPD's false report finding stands, even if he wasn't sure the report was actually false. Dorner exploded in court. "I told the truth. How can this ruling happen?" That shout wasn't theater. It was the crack of a life plan breaking. Dorner took it up to the California Court of Appeal. Under state law, the LAPD's administrative findings carry a presumption they're correct, and the person appealing has to prove they're not. On October 3, 2011, the court said LAPD had enough evidence that Dorner wasn't credible in his allegations. Case closed. Badge gone. Record stained.
They didn't know they created a monster, boy.
A man trained for order now stood outside the gates, hot with anger and out of moves, at least on paper. What comes next doesn't walk. It kicks the door. Early February 2013, while bodies were already dropping and panic was spreading, Christopher Dorner posted a long message on Facebook. It read like a battle plan, a confession, and a dare at the same time. He laid out his history, his motives, and what he planned to do next. People later called it his manifesto. He said straight up that folks who knew him would be shocked to see his name tied to murders. Then he hit the line that set the tone for everything that followed. This was a necessary evil he did not enjoy, but felt he had to finish to clear his name. He claimed the LAPD had not changed since the Rampart and Rodney King days. He said it had gotten worse. The post was not just talk. It was a signal that he had flipped the switch and put the whole city on notice, and the next moves would prove it. Dorner did not list 10 demands like a movie villain. He put one thing on the table. He wanted a public admission from the LAPD that his firing was payback for reporting excessive force. That was the price to stop. Nothing else. No money. No deal. He said journalists should chase the truth and use public records to dig into what happened in his case. He even told them where to look and what files to pull. In his mind, it was simple paperwork rules the block. If the department confessed and the receipts came out, the attacks would stop. If not, the city would keep feeling the heat. One demand, one target, one way out. At least that is how he framed it. He listed dozens of law enforcement people he was ready to kill. He was not shy about it. He called them out like a gang list, like he was greenlighting a whole set. He said he knew what was coming his way too. He expected to be painted as a monster. He said he would be vilified by the LAPD and the media, but he kept repeating the same reason for the blood he was spilling. He said it was about his name, his reputation, his legacy. He was staking his life on that word. The city heard the message and froze up. The badge world went to high alert, and the body count had already started to talk for him. In the manifesto, he broke down the word like a dictionary, a word or set of words by which a person is known. Then he hit the synonyms: reputation, title, repute. He said a name is your life, your story, your sacrifices. He warned people not to let anyone tarnish it when you know you lived by your own code. He asked a hard question that felt like a dare to the audience and a warning to his enemies. The question is, what would you do to clear your name? He wanted the answer to be obvious. He wanted people to see him as a man forced into a corner. He wanted the street to believe the system played him, so he chose to play it back with fire. And once he made that question public, every bullet that followed was his answer. He told the story like this. In 807, he reported his training officer for kicking a mentally ill suspect during a use of force. He wrote that the suspect had a visible facial injury. He said he broke the so-called blue line and paid the price. 10 months later, he was relieved of duty. The department said he lied. He went before a board of rights from late 2008 into early 2009 and said the video and the father's words backed him up. According to him, it did not matter. He said the board still found him guilty and fired him. In his words, that decision crushed his career and blacked out his future. From that day, he wrote, everything was about the stain on his name. He said he had done right by the code and got dragged for it. He turned that pain into anger and that anger into a plan. He blasted the Board of Rights. He claimed there were conflicts. He said people on the board had ties and friendships that made the panel unfair from the start. He said he moved to get them removed and got denied. He said the department tried to label him a bully, but he pushed back and brought up an Academy episode where he claimed he stood up to ugly talk and hate. He framed himself as the one who called out foul play while others kept quiet. In his story, the board brushed off the video, brushed off the father's testimony, and chose to believe he lied. That was the door slamming. He said his termination.
I think they believed him 100%, but they had to show him what happens when you go against that blue line. This is why no matter how reckless or dangerous a cop behaves on duty toward a citizen, we never, ever, ever see a cop intervene and treat this cop like the criminal. Even if these cops eventually face charges, none of the officers that they were with were ever lawful enough on their mind to know, hey, this is illegal what he's doing, and flip the script on them there immediately and treat them like the criminal they are. They never do it, and this is why.
Was not about truth. It was about protecting their own. In his mind, that verdict put a target on his back and set a timer on what came next. He reached back into his younger years. He said he was often the only black kid in class and got into fights when slurs hit his face. He said he did not let that slide and would not accept being disrespected. He described a life rule he set for himself. He would not tolerate racial hits to his character. He told the story about the bag of cash he returned. He wanted people to see him as the guy who does not steal, who does not lie, who does not fake reports. He wanted that word to hang in the air while the city felt the shots. His language turned darker and more tactical. He wrote like a man stepping into guerrilla mode. He talked about asymmetric warfare. He said he did not fear death because he died inside when he was fired. He said he knew how police work, how they move, how they plan, how they think. He pushed the idea that he could flip their playbook and beat them at their own game. That kind of talk is pure street menace. It is the energy of someone who wants the enemy to feel hunted. He even told regular people not to help downed officers. Cold words, cruel words, meant to shock the city and scare the badge. He painted himself as the lone wolf who will not stop until the system confesses. With that tone, you could feel the whole city look over its shoulder and lock its doors. He swerved into politics and took a strong line on guns. He argued for stricter laws and called it a moral duty. He shouted out the quote, "Gun control is no longer debatable. It's not a conversation. It's a moral mandate." He put that out to frame his own shooting spree with a twisted logic, like he wanted to make a bigger point while causing more pain. He told people in power to act. He did not stay in one lane. The manifesto bounced from policy to threats to personal stories. It felt chaotic but intentional, like a rant with a crosshair. He wanted attention on his firing. He used everything else as a loudspeaker. He went long on media names, news hosts, and politicians. He praised some, blasted others. He said who he thought spoke truth and who did not. He even mixed in actors, comedians, and athletes. The tone swung from love to hate in a few lines. That is why the post read like a street broadcast as much as a confession. He was not just talking to cops. He was talking to America. He wanted a crowd. He wanted the cameras. It was his show, his stage, his words, and you felt a nasty twist under it all.
I find it odd it's not more people like him out here.
The more names he tagged, the bigger the shadow he cast over the city that week. He spoke to his friends in the Post. He apologized to some. He quoted D.H. Lawrence, "I never saw a wild thing feel sorry for itself. A small bird will drop frozen dead from a bough without ever feeling sorry for itself." That line told you where his head was. No pity, no pause. He said he missed weddings. He said he would miss more life. He even wrote about depression after losing his job, and about old head injuries from football that were in his medical record. He spelled out what he planned to do to the people he blamed. He wrote about watching them, learning their routines, and bringing pain to their families.
Dangerous man, he up to all that when they not even thinking about him. Ooh, that's the boogeyman for real.
He talked like a man who wanted to make them live in fear, the way he felt he lived after the board took his career. The threats were detailed and ruthless. It read like a green light on a wide circle. Not just one person. It was terror in plain language. He wanted them to think no place was safe. Home, work, school. That is how deep the grudge had grown. In his mind, this was a war zone now, and he was the one calling the shots. He asked a sharp question to the department. If he really lied in his original use of force report, why did they not file criminal charges for a false police report like they do with others? He said they avoided that because a court would have cleared him and exposed the department. That is how he framed it. He blamed the system for cutting him off from his mother and sister and from friends who fell away. That pain sharpened into a vow. He said the attacks stopped when the department publicly says he was innocent. No side route, no soft landing. He flipped the old phrase, "It's not just us, it's justice." He set himself up as the one who would break that cycle. That is the mythology he built inside the manifesto. In the streets, that kind of stand makes people listen. In the real world, it also means the next move can get very dark very fast. On February 9th, 2013, the LAPD chief used the media to say the department would review the disciplinary case that led to Dorner's firing. He said they would re-examine the claims. That sounded like the door cracking open, but Dorner's own words made the bar clear. He wanted a public confession. He said the attacks would stop when the truth comes out. Meanwhile, the killings had started. The Post was now gasoline on a city already shaking. The badge world armored up. Families got moved. The streets grew quiet. And the hunt for the ex-cop who declared war on the LAPD was about to turn every freeway, motel, and mountain road into a pressure cooker, with the whole region bracing for the next shot. Earlier on February 1st, 2013, a package shows up at Anderson Cooper's office with a DVD laying out Christopher Dorner's case against the LAPD. Inside the box is a challenge coin from Chief William Bratton that's been shot up. On the coin is a note, 1 MOA, 1 minute of angle, flexing that the grouping was 1 inch at 100 yards. That's not a love letter. That's a shooter talking aim, telling the city he's tight with a rifle. The coin is more than metal. It's a message. He's saying, I can touch what I choose. And the timing says the show is about to start. February 3rd, Irvine. Night air, a quiet condo garage. A white Kia Optima sits parked and shots crack through the darkness, killing Monica Kwan, 28, an assistant coach at Cal State Fullerton, and her.
I hate to see such a beautiful young life lost, man. Sheesh. But I still cheer for Christopher Dorner.
Her fiance, Keith Lawrence, 27, a USC campus public safety officer. Detectives read it as targeted because Monica's father, Randall Kwan, a former LAPD captain, had represented Dorner at the Board of Rights, and cops believe Dorner hunted them in revenge, a warning the city felt instantly for anyone on his bad side. 4 days.
He knew, as anybody who looked at his situation logically, especially who had knowledge of the law, knew how it was supposed to go. So anybody who just basically told him, "F you," he was like, all right.
Earlier, Monica had walked into practice glowing, flashed her engagement ring, and her Cal State Fullerton Hoopers screamed and crowded her up, the kind of locker room joy she wished she had on camera because she loved photos with friends. And people said she pushed young women to grind harder and hoop smarter, a fiery spirit who rocked red and black J's and chased number 23 like her idol. Keith, known at USC for quiet confidence, would drive hours just to run a pickup game, loved teaming with weaker players to bring their game up, could pull from deep or cut hard to the rim for the challenge. And his father said simple and true, Keith loved his life and he loved Monica. He almost proposed in a Nike store until his brother clowned the idea. So he reset at home in Irvine, took advice from Monica's mom, had the ring made right, scattered rose petals, dropped to a knee, asked and heard yes, which is why the engagement surprised folks who knew them because they kept their love low talk and big dreams. She rode for the Lakers and Michael Jordan. He liked bright kicks of any brand, and they could spend hours in a Nike store or at Dave & Buster's with friends who said, we joke that they are up in heaven at a Nike store, or playing basketball at Dave & Buster's. A line that hits hard because that's the kind of small joy violence steals first. February 4th, the manifesto hits the internet. February 5th, Military sources say Dorner checked into Naval Base Point Loma in San Diego. He doesn't check out properly. That detail looks small, but it shows he's thinking like a ghost. In and out, no footprints, head down. San Diego means water, borders, options. The field just got wider. February 6th, the manifesto calls out Randall Quan and family as targets, accusing him of failing Dorner and siding with the department. Irvine police named Dorner the prime suspect in the Quan Lawrence murders. Media published the post but redact specific officer names on law enforcement's request for safety. On the street, that redaction feels like a siren. People know the list is real even if names are blurred. Protection details go up. The badge world tightens ranks. The city holds its breath. February 7th, about 1 a.m., 2 LAPD officers are rolling to a protection detail when a man named R.L. McDaniel flags them down in Corona. He says a dude who looks like Dorner just hit a gas station. They follow a pickup. The driver stops, steps out, and opens up with a rifle. A round grazes an officer's head. No talk, no warning, just metal. That's a straight up street move. Hit first, slide away. The chase is real now, not just on paper. About 20 minutes later, Riverside. 2 officers sit at a red light in a marked unit. Shots slam the car. It's an ambush. Officer Michael Crane, 34, is killed. He was a Marine who served 2 tours in Kuwait as a rifleman, a husband to Regina, dad to Ian, 10, and Caitlin, 4. Regina later said her best memories with her husband were Sunday mornings, eggs, bacon, and his must-have hash browns, kids waking him while she cooked, the quiet love of a family posted up together before the day hit. She also read their vows and said through tears, every day got better, and talked about him dancing at their daughter's ballet class and learning baseball so he could coach his son. And
She looked like she gave his brother a blow he had to wake.
Riverside's chief called it what it was, a cowardly ambush, then said Crane was the kind of cop you wish you could clone, a line that landed heavy in a room packed with uniforms and a governor sitting front row. Crane's partner is hit bad, rushed to surgery, but survives. This is not a war of words anymore. It's executions on the streets. With that red light hit, everyone in uniform knows they're being hunted. The whole region goes tack tight, and every patrol car suddenly feels like a target. About 3 a.m., same night, a man who looks like Dorner tries to jack a boat in San Diego, telling the captain he's taking it to Mexico. The move fails, but the intent is clear. The feds file a criminal complaint.
Why would he announce where he was headed to a civilian? Maybe that was a throw-off.
That day, saying he's fleeing California to duck prosecution. Now you've got local, state, and federal heat stacked, and the border becomes a chess square in a much bigger game. Hours later, a dark gray 2005 Nissan Titan, Dorner's ride, turns up burned on a remote fire road near Big Bear Lake, roughly 80 miles from Los Angeles. A local, Daniel McGowan, spots it. That burn isn't just a car on fire, it's a scrubbing of the trail. Investigators flood the forest. About 125 officers go door to door. Schools in the Bear Valley Unified District go into lockdown. The mountains feel open, but once you're boxed in with guns and snow, they turn into a maze, and a lot of hunters have rifles in those woods. Pressure climbs quick. Around this time, Dorner takes over a cabin owned by a family named Reynolds. The spot is tucked in the Big Bear scene. He keeps low. 5 days in the wind isn't luck, it's patience. He's posted up where the searchers are right outside, and that's the coldest part, hiding in plain sight while the net keeps tightening. February 9th, CNN reports the LAPD has reopened the disciplinary case tied to Dorner's firing to reassure the public they are doing everything they can. That's a public nod to the fairness issue, but it's a media line, not a confession. The manhunt keeps rolling. The streets don't loosen. The silence between both sides feels like a fuse still burning. February 10th, authorities put up a $1 million reward for information that leads to Dorner's capture. Big number, biggest in California at that time. People start using the phrase domestic terrorism for what's happening. With Dorner believed to be holed up in the San Bernardino Mountains, an unmanned aerial vehicle is sent up to help the search. A Lowe's in Northridge gets evacuated on a possible sighting. Tips and rumors pop like fireworks. That kind of money and that kind of label turn friends into lookouts and strangers into eyes. February 11th, the Riverside District Attorney files formal charges. Murder of a police officer, attempted murder of 3 more officers. The paper trail now matches the body count. Once those counts drop, there's no stepping back. The legal hammer is raised, but out in the snow, the only law that matters is who sees who first. February 12th morning, cops hit a hotel in Tijuana off a tip. Meanwhile, surveillance video surfaces of Dorner buying scuba gear at a sporting goods store in Torrance. The moves look scattered, but they play to the same point. He's mobile.
I remember the tourist police shot up some old ladies starting early in the morning to go on a paper route because they had a description of his truck. The truck that these ladies was in didn't even match the description. They just panicked and unloaded on their truck like 4 in the morning. And the lady survived. They got chipped out with some bread.
He's resourced, and he's thinking outside the normal paths. Then the San Bernardino County District Attorney's Office posts a message that slaps the brakes on live updates. The sheriff has asked all members of the press to stop tweeting immediately. It is hindering officer safety. #Dorner. That tweet gets pulled within hours, but the meaning is loud. This isn't TV anymore. It's live fire. Same morning, Jim and Karen Reynolds return to their Big Bear Lake cabin. Dorner is inside 5 days deep. He captures them, ties them up, and takes their vehicle. They work free fast and call it in. Now,
I remember they wasn't even quite sure if they believed their story. They was scrutinizing this couple like they got out too easy, like they thought they was bush.
the hunters finally have a fresh trail. The word carjacking jumps to every radio, and the clock starts ticking louder because once a man on the run takes a car in daylight, the route lights up like a runway. 12:22 p.m. A white Dodge truck is jacked. The driver isn't hurt. Fish and wildlife officers spot the vehicle first, recognize Dorner, and the chase goes hot. Multiple agencies join. The mountains are winding, the snow banks high, the roads narrow. The white truck becomes a white flag that doesn't surrender. Sirens, choppers, long guns. The whole grid moves in, block by block, tree by tree. Dorner bails to another cabin. He opens up on San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department deputies. 2 are hit. They're airlifted to Loma Linda University Medical Center. Detective Jeremiah McKay, 35, doesn't make it. Alex Collins is badly wounded but survives. The department later calls them absolutely true heroes. On the ground, deputies say the firefight felt like a war zone. That's not hype. That's a hallway of bullets with nowhere to hide. McKay was a regular at Liam's Irish pub in Colton, the guy with a pint, a smile, and a kilt on St. Patrick's Day. Always ready with the bagpipes, and when the manhunt pushed into Big Bear, he stayed on that ridgeline for days, posting mountain pics and cracking on himself for wearing short sleeves in the snow like a local who grew up in that cold. The SBSD confirms Dorner is holed up in a cabin near the Manhunt Command Center in the mountain country northeast of Angeles Oaks. A 3-mile perimeter clamps down. Residents are told to stay inside and lock doors. Reports ripple that there might be hostages with Dorner, adding another layer of dread. The woods go quiet, but it's the heavy quiet before the breach, when everyone knows the next sound could be the last one they hear. Command works a ladder of force. Loudspeakers demand surrender. No move. They push tear gas. Still no move. A demolition vehicle goes in and knocks down much of the cabin's walls to strip cover. Then come the pyrotechnic tear gas canisters, nicknamed burners. The canisters are launched and the structure catches fire. Shortly after, a single gunshot is heard from inside the cabin. As the flames climb, ammunition inside starts cooking off, popping rounds and keeping firefighters from moving in. Whether burners should be used in a barricade like this becomes an instant ugly argument. But out there in the cold, the decision is made and the building is going up. By evening, rumors say a body is out. LAPD and SBSD shut that down. LAPD Commander Andrew Smith tells cameras no body has been removed, that the cabin is still too hot for entry, and any ID talk is not true. The perimeter stays tight. The scene glows orange and black, and the only official word is wait. February 13th, San Bernardino County Sheriff John McMahon tells reporters the cabin fire was not set on purpose by authorities. He says the blaze started when pyrotechnic tear gas canisters were fired into the structure. He says forensics are still working the remains from the cabin and formal ID is pending, but the hunt is declared over. The message is clear. The end came with gas, with fire, with bullets, and the debate about burners is going to burn on. Next day, officials repeat they didn't intend to burn the place down, even as a scanner exchange circulates where voices say they are going with the burner and then confirm deployment and fire. At the same time,
They know that shit was on purpose. I remember watching this that day. They didn't have no other choice because he too much of a sharp shot. He could have sat from wherever he was at and picked something off.
new details surface on how Dorner moved. In Big Bear, he may have hidden in a vacant condo close enough to see the command post. Deputies checked 600 cabins and still missed that one. Later, he carjacked another man in a silver truck. "I don't want to hurt you," he told the driver. "Just get out and walk up the road and take your dog." He crashed after another chase and then ran for the last cabin. SWAT teams tried traditional gas first, then switched to the pyrotechnic type as shots kept coming from inside. It does generate a lot of heat. Sheriff McMahon said, "From the first killings, the threats in the manifesto force a protection wave. Over 40 potential targets get security details. Thousands of officers patrol highways across Southern California. LAPD pulls motorcycle officers off bikes for safety. The manhunt spreads from California to Nevada and Mexico. You could feel it at checkpoints, freeway ramps, and in the air. The reward stacks the tips. The UAV scans the mountains. The badge world circles the wagons, and regular people learn to live inside the echo of sirens and updates. While the chase was running, the old case kept whispering through every report. Dorner's defense had the father saying his son told him he'd been kicked, and a short video where the son points to his cheek and agrees a female officer kicked him. But at the hearing, the son couldn't give the current year and gave random answers. The panel decided the father lacked credibility because the son was too mentally ill to be a reliable witness. Dorner's lawyer, Randall Kwan, said the case was very, very ugly and called Dorner a scapegoat. The Port police officer said he told Dorner to fix his tie, but a photo from the scene showed Dorner wasn't wearing a tie. The board, 2 LAPD captains and a criminal defense attorney, ruled unanimously against him, saying fear of a bad evaluation motivated his claim. To fire him, they didn't need proof beyond doubt, only proof by that lower standard. On appeal, the judge kept the decision. The next day, the talk on TV shifts back to roads closed, rifles out, and the mountain perimeter. The department tries to cool the public. Chief Charlie Beck talks about the disciplinary case. "It is important to me that we have a department that is seen as valuing fairness." It's a clean quote. It lands like a bandage, not a cure. Because as that line runs, cops in Big Bear are pulling on armor, families on the target list are still under guard, and a cabin in the Pines is about to light up. The policy talk will live on after. Right now, survival is the only policy that matters. The manifesto's line still hangs over the entire chase. Your lack of ethics.
At least in my lifetime, especially being an adult, I can't think of nobody that pulled a colder stunt than this dude. They don't remind us of him, mention him much. We done had some crazy situations, but I think this is the coldest get out. Yeah.
And conspiring to wrong a just individual are over. Suppressing the truth will lead to deadly consequences for you and your family. The quote sits like a curse on the timeline. It explains nothing and everything at once. It's how he justified the start and how he promised the end. The law called it murder. The city called it terror. He called it a name-clearing mission. In the woods, all that talk turned to gunsmoke. The reward was loud. Back when Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa announced it, the terms were loose, so later judges had to decide who actually eats. Final split, $800,000 to James and Karen Reynolds, the couple Dorner tied up in their Big Bear cabin before stealing their ride. $150,000 to Daniel McGowan, the local who found that burned Nissan Titan near Big Bear, and $50,000 to R.L. McDaniel, the guy who flagged LAPD about that Corona sighting. In the end, the money follows the trail that closed the circle. February 15, 2013, NPR's Michael Martin asked the question a lot of people were whispering: why did some feel a kind of sympathy for Dorner? She calls it what it was, a one-man war. Reporter Karen Grigsby Bates breaks it down. Dorner said he was fighting a
Just like Rambo First Blood, it's an American hero story. When they showed it to me as a kid, it was a blockbuster in the box office. Now that it's in real life, around the same similar story, somebody trained by them felt like he was dealt with unjustly, and he got the kicking ass.
Culture of racism that took his badge. The manifesto stirred up long memories, and the consent decree years. Bates says tons of people say, yeah, the murders are wrong, full stop. But the trust gap with LAPD didn't vanish just because time passed. The love-hate is layered. The department got better since the Fed oversight days, but suspicion still lives in certain blocks. Michael Cherkasky, one of the people who led the federal monitoring, tells NPR there were enormous changes over 8 years of oversight. He says there was a culture change, with more respect for civil rights, better training on use of force, and less biased policing. He also says perception always lags reality. You can fix policy faster than scars. The hood hears change, but remembers hands on the hood too. Karen Bates plays a quick clip from Chief Charlie Beck. He says, big organizations, and this is a big organization, don't change overnight. He pushes the idea that the old heads are retiring, new faces are coming up, and the mindset is evolving. Different gender, different orientation, different color, different approach. He says the good old days, some old chiefs liked, that hard paramilitary stance, are not coming back. The messaging is steady. We're not who we were, but we're still working on it. When Beck agrees to reopen the investigation into Dorner's firing, Bates says it's not just PR. Dorner may be gone, but the skepticism stays. She says people kept asking if it was clean, why not show it? So the departments play as sunlight, crack open the file, show the steps, own any mistakes if they're there. They have to earn goodwill every day, Bates says. One slip, you're back near square one. That's not cop talk. That's how any crew keeps respect on the block. Bates adds a tough note. Dorner's rant wasn't just white versus black. He called out black and Latino officers too, saying the culture itself was toxic in places, no matter who wore the badge. She says people will want that checked, how much truth in there, and what gets fixed to prevent backsliding into that old paramilitary vibe. The end game is simple. LA wants safe streets, communities want fair policing, LAPD wants to stand on its own.
Yeah, I think the message is clear. Of course, no one wants to see a repeat of this situation, but like he was just closing up, wrapping up in the words of this lady. You can't like just look at the terrible things he did and ignore the issues that he was speaking and acting out upon. Don't want to see it happen again. Rest in peace, Christopher Dorner.
Let me get you on camera. Where you from?
California.
No, for real. Leave it on. Serious though.
Watts, baby.
I know where you from though. Where you from?
Eastside PJ Watts.
I'm from Grace 2 House, nigga.
Right.
They call you, homie.
Big Slice.
Big Slice?
Yes, yes.
All right, nigga. They call me Puto, cuz.
Right.
In that hustle. Big shout out to SPI, Spotter Low. You know, I'm in the black box. Had to come through, tap in, show love one time. Yeah, y'all make sure y'all subscribe. Stay tuned. All that.